We live in a world of cycles. Every 24 hours, Earth completes a full rotation on its axis. Every 365 days, it completes its orbit of the Sun. These universal cycles bring with them day and night, heat and cold, dry weather and snow, the patterns of the ecosystems in which we live. There are other, less obvious cycles that also have tremendous impact on life on Earth. One of the most important of these is the biochemical cycle of the element carbon. Carbon is the building block of all living things. It is a necessary ingredient in everything from coal to cotton. But its primary source is the carbon dioxide gas found in the atmosphere. How is this gas transformed into solid organic material? Plants are constantly removing carbon dioxide from the air and converting it to food. Green plant cells contain unique organelles called chloroplasts. This is where photosynthesis occurs. Chloroplasts contain the green pigment chlorophyll, which absorbs sunlight to fuel photosynthesis. Inside the chloroplast, carbon dioxide from the air combines with water, primarily from the roots. This reaction produces sugar or glucose, water, and oxygen. The plants release the excess oxygen. They feed on the carbon-based glucose to drive their metabolism. When plants die, any carbon locked in the dead plants accumulates into solid deposits over time. The oxygen that plants release from photosynthesis becomes part of the air humans and other animals inhale. In animal respiration, oxygen and sugar are used to release energy. During this process, the organisms produce carbon dioxide and water. The carbon dioxide that animals exhale can be used by plants for photosynthesis. And so the cycle continues. Carbon also cycles through plant and animal tissues. During photosynthesis, plants make glucose, a carbon-based compound. When the plant is eaten, the carbon passes into the consumer system. When the consumer dies, it decomposes. Some of its carbon is released into the air, where it becomes available to plants. The rest enters the ground. After millions of years, it becomes what we call fossil fuels, such as coal, oil, and natural gas. When the fuel is burned, it releases carbon dioxide. Decomposition is also an important part of the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen is essential to life. It is a component of proteins and nucleic acids. It's also 78% of the atmosphere. But plants and animals cannot metabolize the free nitrogen in the air. So how does nitrogen get from the air into the nucleus of every living cell? The main way is through a process called nitrogen fixation, carried out most often by certain types of bacteria. In a symbiotic or mutually beneficial relationship with plants, nitrogen-fixing bacteria attach to plant roots and convert free soil nitrogen into nitrates that are used by the plant. In turn, the bacteria use sugars produced by the plant. These usable nitrogen compounds are found throughout the food web, from plants to final consumers. The nitrogen compounds are released back to the soil through decomposition and animal waste. Along with carbon and nitrogen, water plays an important role. What maintains our water supply? What keeps the soil moist and the rains coming? Again, it is a cycle, the water cycle. When a plant leaf opens its stomata, or pores, for gas exchange, water in the plant evaporates into the atmosphere. This process, called transpiration, is an important part of the water cycle. Most of the water that evaporates into the atmosphere comes from the oceans. There is a limit to how much water vapor air can hold. When air reaches its saturation point, water droplets form clouds in a process called condensation. When these droplets become large enough, they fall back to Earth as rain, snow, sleet, or hail, all forms of precipitation. Precipitation washes over plants, seeps into the soil, or flows over the land surfaces and eventually back to the ocean. These natural cycles, water, nitrogen, and carbon, have carried on for millions of years, but humans have the ability to interfere with them. The burning of fossil fuels and deforestation increase the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which can also affect evaporation and transpiration in the water cycle. It is important to understand how the carbon, nitrogen, and water cycles are interconnected, and the critical role they play in allowing life to exist on Earth.